Some amazing games I want to show you today. I met with Tony of Plus One EXP a few weeks ago. He was in St. Louis, and we talked about some of Plus One EXP's projects, and he gave me two of the games that they have published. Very cool. I'm really excited to show them to you. They're very neat. Seriously cool stuff. They have some print. They're not final. Like and I'll say this a couple of times as I show them off. They're not the final versions of the games. They have some printing errors in them. Cassie Mothan, am totally fine with taking games or zines that you can't sell because they have issues. Happy to use that to show your game off on stream. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I have these two copies. So we're gonna start with Down We Go because it's complete. This is Through the Void. I believe it's not done and they're still working on it a little bit. This is just like a test print, but I'm still gonna talk about it because I think it's the one I'm most excited about. But they're both very similar. One's just sci-fi and one is fantasy, I believe. All my games are damaged by... Hey, that is your tagline. Save that. That's a great tagline. My games are damaged by design. So this is Down We Go. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, if anybody's played it. I've read through it a little bit, and then Tony talked me through it a little bit. One thing I do want to note is that it does look like it's rugged. It's quite rugged and worn. That is not how this game is supposed to appear. This is a misprint. It is supposed to be all black with the white skull. I don't even think this white part might supposed to be there. I don't know. But this is supposed to be all black. So this is a misprint. So if you order this, just be aware that this is not how it's supposed to look. And it does look really good, but this wasn't how it's supposed to be. And then there are some ink issues inside of it as well, and I think it arrived damaged, so just keep in mind that I was actually thinking that I wouldn't mind. Yeah, that's what I told Tony. I was like, this looks rad as hell. But just keep that in mind if you take a look at this. So let's take a look at the back. Down into the ground they go, the sneaky, the mystical, the holy, the bloodthirsty, to plumb the depths for riches and glory before returning home to Infinopolis, the infinite city. Infinopolis is a hungry metropolis built by the gold, treasure, stone, and blood from generations of delvers. Power alliances and the streets themselves endlessly shift in a greedy attempt for more. There's only one way to feed this city, so down we go. So I've seen this. I have never played OSR, but I think this is OSR games, but I think this is an OSR light game. I feel like that's an appropriate way to describe it. Just from what I've read about OSR games and how I've seen them run, this feels more collaborative storytelling and less deadly dungeon crawl. It feels like a nice marriage between those, and I think everything's really interesting in here. So Down We Go is a rules light role-playing game in the old school style by Markus Linderum. It focuses on player skill and narrative logic while using simple D20 and D6 mechanics. The game uses a role system that fuses class skill and stats into 4 distinct archetypes, streamlining play. This helps new and experienced players get down to delving the depths as quickly as possible. Seriously, so quick to go, so fast. All right, so we have a great table of contents here, as you can see. This is not a super thick book. I think most of it is adventure. Oh, sorry, cat hair. I think most of it is adventure, and then not a lot of it is rules. So here is the table of contents. It also has solo rules, which I have not looked at yet, but there are solo rules in here. It has some hexcrawls, a campaign guide, a bestiary, dungeons, and then this is the rules right here. You see by page 6, you're already... I also have it on a timer, so it'll go off every once in a while. So by page 6, you're already looking at dungeons, so super quick. I was really impressed by the amount of people who have worked on this. I don't know if it shows up, if you all can see this, but I see Navi and Sean Drake, Aaron King, lots of really cool names that I recognize in here of people who have worked on this. So really, really neat. Nate Train, I can't pronounce his last name. I don't know if it's Trem or Train, but he did Tunnel Goons and one of my favorite games, In the Light of a Ghost Star, In the Light of a Dying Star, In the Light of a Ghost Star. Very cool game. Yeah, they're solo roles. We can take a look at them. Take a look at them in a little bit. So this also has an open license, so you can find out more about that at downwego.com. Games. Games. And Tony was telling me about this game. I was like sold in his description, and then the more I was reading it, I was like, how much does the text back up what he's telling me? And I really feel like it does a great job of doing what he was describing to me. And what he was describing to me was this like collaborative play between the game master or the referee and the players. But basically it's extremely collaborative play, so the referee or the game master does not arrive to the table with everything fully fleshed out, knowing exactly what's going to happen or what. I don't know how deep that goes. So these are the beacons, or what some people refer to as like principles. So I really like how this game like sets it up immediately. Like, here are your beacons, let these light away when down we go into the darkness. So you could loot 1,000 dungeons, but 1,000 more still await you. Plunder ruins, blunt caves, survey the lands, explore the world with wonder, take note of what excites you, work together to build an endless world or adventure that lives beyond a single character, even if it's just a one-shot. So really harping on that work together. It's our world and we all play here. Everyone around your table is playing the game and telling a story together. The spotlight and agency will shift as you go. Seize your moments, support the other players. Answer questions and offer input. Everyone at the table is a player. Characters act, referees respond. We all play. The players are more important than the game. Character conflict is not player conflict. Let the game surprise you. The streets of Infinopolis shift, dungeons repopulate, powers move behind the scenes. No one should come to the table 100% of what will 100% sure of what will happen. Ask each other questions, interrogate the fiction, and let the story emerge as you go. Start small, a name, a few abilities, and a handful of items. Don't plan, prep, or plot too much on your own. Roll on tables and then figure out why after. 5 heads are better than 1. The adventures you build together will be better than the best ideas you have alone. And it just sort of like doesn't say the same thing in different ways, but also it does in the sense of like work together to create a cool story. And here's the scaffolding to do that. Here are the rules. I think this is it. Yeah, these are the rules. This is it. I'm just giving them away. I'm sorry, Tony. So this is your character sheet. And then these are the classes. And then these are your hits. So to start, put +2 in one roll, or put +1 in 2 rolls. Choose level number of abilities in those rolls. You can use roll as a role-playing prompt. So basically you have your rogue, sneaky. Mystical, I think that's like your wizard, your sorcerer. Holy, that's your cleric. Hey Tony, welcome in. How's it going? We are looking at Down We Go right now. I already gave caveats that this had printer errors, so no worries there. But everyone, welcome in. Tony, say hi, Tony. But Holy is like your cleric, and then Bloodthirsty, I think, is like your fighter. Basically, when you start, you put +2 in one roll or +1 in 2 rolls, so you can multi-class immediately. So you have two knots basically, right? So you can have, if you wanted to play a sneaky rogue at level 1, you can take backstab and lockpicking, or you can take backstab and appraise, or you can multi-class and you can be a sneaky cleric and you can take lockpicking and turn undead, or contacts and divination, or you can combine them. And I guess as you level up, which we can look at the level abilities, the leveling up abilities in a moment, those unlock more skills. Sneaky cleric is my favorite. Yeah, just so you can sneak up on your friends when they're about to die and give them a heal. So these are all your abilities. This is it. You're not gonna be constantly thumbing through the book. Hey, Dungeon Door, thanks so much for the follow. You're not gonna be constantly, I said scrolling, flipping through the book trying to find your spells or figure out what your abilities do. They're all right here on your character sheet. And this isn't even what I think is the coolest thing about this system. We'll get to that in a minute. But then we have some things that describe them. So the sneaky, the quick, nimble, dodge, mechanical traps, poise, confidence, resist mental influence for holy. So lots of stuff here without being overbearing. The abilities here are nothing. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm sure Pathfinder is similar, that these abilities aren't going to be extremely hard for you to rationalize here or envision here. Like we have parry and alertness and cleave. And then I think there's also space to add your own or to homebrew your own spell. You just flavor it. like one of these other spells. Like there's plenty of option or abilities, I guess. There's plenty of options to pull from. And so there's room for homebrew. Who doesn't love homebrew? That is, you can carry 10 items, choose a common weapon, and common adventuring gear to start with. Cool. I love inventory slots far more than weight. So I love having a limit on items and just filling that in. And then here are our rules. Our rules are literally right here. Here's our rules right here. So save is a d20 plus the level at or over 15. So to save, you roll a d20 and you add your level to it. So you roll a d20, if you're level 1, you add 1. So if you are level 1 and you need to save against something and you roll a 12, plus 1 is 13. You don't save. Simple as that. Attack d20 plus bloodthirsty at or over the enemy's diff, which we'll look at that in a second. And defense is d20 plus sneaky at or over the enemy's diff. The luck is X in 6 reference set odds depending on the situation. Oh, the referee sets odds depending on the situation. Okay. Players make all rolls. So the referee doesn't make any rolls. I assume. Combat. Initiative. D6. 4 to 6, you go first. On your turn, move and take 1 action. A successful attack usually inflicts 1 hit regardless of weapon. When you fill your last hit circle, you die. Okay, there you go. There you go. So if you take... Oh, and this is where you start, I guess. I assume this is where you start. Look at your height. So if... I'm not sure which direction to go, though. It probably doesn't matter too much. When you fill your last hit circle, you die. Light, medium, or heavy armor lets you reroll a defense roll 1 or 2 or 3 times. Correct, that's starting health. Whichever way you like. We aren't cops. I figured. I was like, after completing dungeons equal to your character's highest level, track back to the city to increase a level in any roll and get another ability in that roll. Every third ability in any roll, get another hit circle. If your dice ends up on the floor, your character... Optional. If your dice ends up on the floor, your character dies. In a gruesome, embarrassing way. A natural 20 should be memorable. It can double damage, refresh an ability use, let you do a cool stunt, etc. I love that. So then we have the referee guide. So this is a player character sheet, pretty much. It's very simple. You probably don't even need it. Just write your stuff down and move on. And then you have your referee guide, which this is it. This is everything that's on this page. Now I want to look at the dungeons. I think they're really cool. I think the way they're set up in here is really cool. And let's take a look at the cool art. There's a lot of really cool art in here that we'll look at as we go. And roll tables that are very cool. Dungeons. Every dungeon has a set of adjectives that determine its traps, monsters, challenges, and vibe. Roll d4 or select one and consult the appropriate tables. Lore is loot. Ask players questions regarding the dungeon, the monsters, the trap, the adjectives, etc. Ask about the loot they may find there. Roll a d6 to decide how true those rumors are, how good the loot is. A roll of 1 means the loot is cursed, worth less than expected, while a 6 exceeds expectations. Yeah, so that was something that Tony was telling me about that I think is really neat. You roll a d6, so what I love about this rumor mechanic is that you all have a conversation about the dungeon, about what you think is there, and then you roll dice to determine how true those things you think are. And I just think that's such a cool way. Reaction rolls. Make a luck roll to determine how an NPC or a monster reacts to the characters. The lower the number. A luck roll. I've heard that in other editions of D&D there's something called a reaction roll, so that makes sense to me. So building your own dungeon. And we're not going to go through all the dungeons because you should definitely... check this out and take a look at them yourself. But I do want to look at some of the cool stuff in here. I have a mini dice set that was made from Mammoth. Oh my. She needs multiple mini dice set. I do. Cassie dear, what is the nerdiest thing? I'm sorry. If you pull a sword, you probably are going to fight. Yeah, probably going to fight. Let's see here. Reaction tables are common old school thing. Gotcha. So building your own dungeon. Draw or borrow your dungeon map. Decide the type, mausoleum, spa, laboratory, temple. Name the rooms, should give you an understanding of what can be found there. This is great. This is a great page, even if you don't, even if you're not running a dungeon in this system. This is just a great way to build a dungeon. And in the room, select your adjectives, assign sight, sound, smell, and special for each adjectives. Create or borrow monsters. You need mooks, odds, and bosses. Add dressings, traps, tricks, and NPCs. Use the adjectives. A trick is an effect of some kind. An NPC could be anyone. Interacting with an NPC should reward players. They provide intel, give a side quest, offer trades, or similar. Come up with a twist, something that has the potential to flip the script or present new alternative. Place mooks, odds, boss, traps, and tricks. Create a random encounter table. See below. Random encounters. A random encounter generally occurs on 1 in 6 in multi-level dungeons, or risk increases with depth. Roll for every room or whenever the players take a long time in one location. Example, random encounter table. 1 on 2 mook, many, 3 mooks, few, 4 is a trap hazard, 5 is a spore, and 6 is an NPC. What is... I don't know what spore is. I'm sure it just says... Oh my god, it's right there. It's right on the bottom. My chat got stuck. You ain't behind on D23. Oh no. No one is behind on D23. That's impossible. Spores are clues and traces about the dungeon's denizens, footprints, feces, victims, blood, slime, sound, smells, scales, anything to alert players about what to expect further down the line. So again, like, great page. Great spread, honestly. Traps and hazards. Use player skill to locate and disarm traps. They activate when characters move without caution. Use an appropriate roll level to avoid a trap's effects. Converting monsters. When using other adventures designed for D20 systems, like D&D. Use the following conversion. Diff. The monster's hit die plus 10. Monsters of higher than 18 diff should have a weakness that players can learn through clever and meticulous roleplay. I love that. Damn and hits divide the player's original, I guess that's hit die. HD, I assume? We have a dungeon. So let's look at one dungeon and then we'll look at a little bit of the bestiary and some of the other stuff. The city... Diff is here. So diff equals difficulty. How hard they hit and dodge. Dam equals damage. How many hits they inflict. Hits. How many hits to bring them down, and special, yeah, ... So is HD, is that hits plus damage, or is that something else? Anyway, so what's really cool about this tomb is, like, so you can roll a d4 here, or you can choose one. Do you want it to be flooded, shrouded, infected, or glowing? HD is hit dice. Oh, my educated guess was correct. But we don't use hit dice in Down We Go. So we missed defining it. It will either make sense for the system you are using or not, but just seriously made note. Okay, cool. That's not a great roll. Unfortunately, you don't save because you're level 1, so you got a 6. Alrighty, so let's roll a d4 to see what kind of dungeon we have. Alright, so we got a 2. This is the Shrouded Tomb. So we will be using this column here. And this gives us all of our, like, a lot of descriptions for the tomb. So there are moving shadows, whispers, and dust, runes and symbols, demonic figurines, rat droppings, bone relics, magic darkness, the boss sees in darkness, mooks hide in the darkness, shadows that pull you in. Oh, Real Meat Castle! Hey pal, how's it going? Thanks for following. Welcome in. Real Meat Castle is, has great content on TikTok. I haven't had a chance to check out any of her stuff. I'm sure it's great. Mothership stuff. The way you talk about it, it sounds like it's great. It's on my list to check out though. So if you're into Mothership or cool conversations, check out Meat Castle on Twitter and TikTok. I mean, check out Tony too. Not on TikTok, but on Twitter and Twitch. I think most of you know. Anyway, and then, so everything in this column, and you can mix stuff up, which I think is also really, really cool. Then there's a 3 in 6 chance the mooks are enemies with each other, which I think is really cool, and a 3 in 6 chance the odd has their own agenda, otherwise they're working with their boss. And then we have the monsters, their descriptions, their difficulty, their damage, and their hits. And then some kind of special thing that they do. That's it. That's the dungeon. And then this is the map, which it only looks like this because it changes depending on what you decide to go with. And you can mix and match these too. I don't see why you could only stick with a column. Mina's also doing an intro adventure campaign for Through the Void's final. Ooh, very cool. Very cool. And then we have the rooms, some rumors that you ask the players what juicy family secret lies buried somewhere in here. So you ask the players and then you roll to see, I believe, you roll to see like how true that is and if it's cursed or however that works. And then there's some loot. Yeah, and that's it. That's the dungeon. Like, it's a two-page dungeon, but it's fully fleshed out. It's got monsters. It's got NPCs. It's totally got enough for you to build from, which I think is really cool. And then you work with your players to make it feel alive and collaborative and stuff. And there's several of those. There's a sewer generation page. There's a museum. We got a pit. A hexcrawl. The hidden valley of splendor. Moving my dice out of the way. The bestiary, which is rad. You can go back 4 times and have a total. Yeah, and every time will be different. You might not even realize you're in the same dungeon. And then you have some information about the city. And some roll tables for the city, some random encounters for that. Some districts, and it looks like some roll tables and ways to shop at the districts. That's really cool. I love that. Factions. Rumors, businesses. That's fun. NPCs. Let's look at an NPC. Vel, a dragon in retirement, a legendary being who cannot be killed, though Vale does get tired. Oh, so does Cassie. Vel can be found sleeping in a large cave in a ruined tower below city streets at the end of a dungeon. So that's a D4, and you roll to find out. And then we have looks, offers, wants, and knows. I think that's a really cool way to present NPCs, as opposed to some other modules I read, which are paragraphs of text. Then we have some guest appearances. Hot dings. A safe haven, a place to rest. There we go. Okay. And then hirelings, events, the city eater, holidays. I love holidays. A plethora of planes. For when you're going down and want to give sideways. When you're done going down and want to give sideways a try. And then you've got some more roll tables. And then the solo rolls. So create a party of 1 to 3 characters with 6 levels split among them. Flesh out your party as much or as little as you like. As you play, you will expand on them and fill in the gaps. You provide a narrative and you help with help from the Depths Oracle whenever you see fit or need inspiration. And the Depths Oracle looks like it's a D12 situation. In a improving dungeons, it just has some good advice. So we have an oracle and some advice on how to play solo. So yeah, and some more art. And that is Down We Go. As I said, I think this is a really cool game. I want to get it to the table very soon. I think it's especially great for in between. I am running, and many people know I am running two-year D&D campaigns right now, over 2 years. So like something like this, once I'm done with that, this would be like such a great thing to bring to the table. If we really want to do more fantasy or sword and sorcery type things.